Buy milk, buy milk, buy milk, buy milk. Did you get the milk? Oh, shoot, I forgot the milk. Has that ever happened to you? I'm sure it has. But isn't it funny that you could repeat something so many times and still forget that item? Yet you can remember something so specific as if it would happen yesterday, but it actually happened years and years ago. But you remembered it specifically as to what you ate, how it felt, what color it was, and all that kind of stuff. And that's just kind of interesting, isn't it? Well, that's for today's topic on unlocking the mind. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on Unlocking Mind, we talk about metacognitive bias, and the reason why I have this show is so that we can better understand how our minds work, make better decisions, build stronger relationships, and of course, avoid certain cognitive traps. So for today's cognitive bias, we're going to be talking about the levels of processing effect. And what exactly is that? That is that our minds encode information differently at different levels. The deeper you encode that information, the more analysis that you had to make, the more you're able to retain that information, the more you're able to remember that information. When you start adding things like emotion and story and meaning to certain things that we want to remember, we're going to be able to remember it for a much longer period of time. And it completely trumps over repetition and rehearsal. You could try doing something over and over and over and over again. You might get some muscle memory, but you could repeat something over and over again, just like buying milk over and over again. You might still forget it if you were distracted some way or another. That's why we need to add some meaning to it. That's why we have to put some stories to it. We have to add some color. We have to add some more information to it and encode it at more levels so that we can remember it more. So there's two main differences with regards to processing. There's the deep processing and also the shallow aspect, processing. So that is when it's shallow, that means we can forget it easier. And that is when we only remember things for its physicality, the color, the look, and that's pretty much it without giving much meaning to it. But once you put in some elaborations to it, once you put in some meaning, some storyline, some emotion, and some context to it, and make it more relatable to you, then you're able to start thinking, okay, you can remember it more, you can retain it better. That's why when you start wanting to remember somebody's names, you want to think about, where did you see that person? Where did you meet that person? How did you feel about that person? What did that person wear? How is that person associated to you? What is that person carrying? Is that person carrying something that means something to you? Once you start adding all that information onto that person's name, then you're most likely than not to remember that person's name and more features about that person, versus just repeating their name over and over and over again. Because after 3, 4, 5 days, and then you get distracted, you might completely forget about that person or not know what that person does or where they live and all that kind of stuff. So you want to give more meaning to the stuff that you want to remember. That's why there's these memory exercises where you might have a list of items, and then you want to take those list of items and associate a storyline to it or associate a picture to it. For instance, if you had to remember an elephant, you might want to remember an elephant that's flying across New York. And then if you had to remember the item of a cheese block, then you might want to think about that cheese block rolling down the hill, being chased by thousands of people. Once you start associating images to it and giving meaning to those images and those items, then you're able to remember and retain that information even more and for a much longer period of time. That's why when we're thinking about certain aspects of a vacation or a movie or a story, we're thinking about those images that really impact us, that gave us emotion, they gave us meaning. And that's the main difference about shallow and deep processing. And that's why the levels of processing effect is very important for us, because if you really want to retain something, you have to make it meaningful for you. And at the same token, if you want to make something meaningful for somebody else and have them remember it, you have to be making it more meaningful to them and relating that information to them so that they're able to remember it better. So how are you telling that story? How are you teaching that item? How are you spreading that message? Are you spreading that message in a meaningful way that means something to that audience member? And if it does, then they'll remember that even more. So the more you're able to add levels to the items that you have and more emotion and more storylines and more elaborations to something, you're able to retain information longer and you're able to access it better as well. So that is the levels of processing effect. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode on Unlocking Mind. And if you did, please go back and watch some of my other episodes on Unlocking Mind. And if you like that show, we have a lot of other shows, the Peak Potential Success Show, the Make More Mind Bites, and of course the Master Mind Bites that's up every single week. So thank you very much for your likes, your comments, your subscriptions, your following. I love seeing those comments. And until next time, today is the day to lock your peak potential. I'll see you later.